Hello everyone, I'm Raghav Katyal, a consultant at Samagra, and in this video, I'll be charting the course of the NIPUN Lakshya app as part of the NIPUN Bharat mission, which is being done with the government of Uttar Pradesh with the Basic Education Department. Now, the program aims to instill universal foundational literacy and numeracy skills in 6 million students who are enrolled in classes 1 to 3 in government primary schools in Uttar Pradesh. Foundational literacy and numeracy refers to a child's ability to do basic reading and reading comprehension and do basic mathematics operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. This mission is working across the entire state of Uttar Pradesh, which is India's largest state with a total population of 250 million. Now, as a result, this mission is currently impacting the lives of 6 million students who are spread across 130,000 schools who are being taught by 450,000 teachers and working across all 75 districts of the state. Now, in addition to the teachers and this in this vast system, there are also a whole lot of non-teaching administrative officials who are involved in the execution of the responsibilities and the mandate of the basic education department. Now, this includes 75 district education officers who are called as basic shiksha adhikaris. There are also at the district level 225 district mentors who are state resource groups who are academic state star teachers, and they provide academic support to teachers ongoing. At the block level, now 75 districts are further divided into 880 blocks, and each block is led by a block education official. And at the block level, again, similar to the way there are state resource groups at the district level, there are also 5 best teachers who are selected as academic resource persons or ARPs in each block, which totals up to about 4,400 block mentors in each particular block. Now, the theory of the change of the mission seeks to enable the 450,000 teachers who are the primary change makers of the program. Let us look at the theory of change from the lens of Rashmi ji, who is a primary school teacher in Uttar Pradesh. Now, there are 3 key elements of the theory of change: goal clarity, input, which is tools, and motivation. Now, let us understand all of them in detail. When we talk about goal clarity, what we basically mean is that Rashmi ji and every teacher like her should understand what their goal is and when it is said to be achieved. Now, in our context, the goal very simply refers to the NIPUN Lakshya, which contains the learning outcomes or the grade level competencies that each student in that particular grade is supposed to achieve across language and math. So, for example, in grade 3, this looks like something like a student being able to read 60 words per minute or being able to answer 3 out of 4 questions from a reading comprehension passage in terms of literacy. And for numeracy, this looks like 3-digit addition and subtraction, as well as 2-digit multiplication, and a student being able to answer 3 out of 4 questions correctly of these basic operations. So the point and the key objective within the element of goal clarity is that Rashmi ji should be able to articulate this entire NIPUN Lakshya for her students for whichever class she is teaching. Additionally, Rashmi ji should also know that her goal is to make all of the students in her class Nipun, and a student is said to be Nipun when they achieve both the literacy and the numeracy competencies. Additionally, it is also expected that Rashmi ji and all teachers like her would know when the goal is said to be achieved. Now, in our particular context, the goal of the NIPUN Lakshyas is said to be achieved when an independent assessment, a third-party assessment is done, and a student of that particular grade is able to answer questions related to their particular grade level competency correctly. So that is when a student is said to be Nipun, and the goal of Rashmi ji then simply is to make all students of her class Nipun. Now, uh, in this way, today we have that more than 90% of the teachers are able to accurately recall their goal and the Nipun Lakshya competencies. Now, in addition to the goal clarity, a lot of inputs in the form of academic tools have been provided to teachers to enable them to teach better and implement structured pedagogy. Now, this includes tools like teacher guides called Sandarshika. This includes workbooks for students to practice. This includes Nipun Talika, on which teachers can record the progress of their students and measure their progress against the micro learning competencies that make up the Nipun Lakshya. It also contains with it a lot of printage material and a lot of posters, which are used to make the classrooms more engaging. Uttar Pradesh in total has provided more than 200 pieces of TLM, which is teaching learning material, in each classroom since 2020. And teachers are also supported on the usage of this material through annual training, through monthly school visits by mentors who do on-site support supervision and on-site training, as well as monthly peer learning circles called Shikshak Sankul meetings. Now, since 2020, the state has worked on a war footing to stabilize these inputs and provide them to each and every classroom across the 130,000 schools that exist in Uttar Pradesh. Now, the other aspect and the third key aspect in the theory of change is motivation. Now, motivation is provided through recognition of teachers after an independent third-party assessment of the students against the defined learning outcomes, which are called the NIPUN Lakshyas. It is said that if 80% of the students in each grade in a school have achieved the competencies, then the school is recognized as a Nipun Vidyalaya, and the teachers are felicitated by the district administration. Now, this felicitation provides a lot of encouragement and motivation to the teachers, which is directly linked to the outcomes of their school, and it also generates an aspiration in the other teachers and the other schools who have not been able to achieve this status to get their students to the Nipun status and again unlock this achievement and receive this felicitation for them as well. So this creates a almost like a motivation mechanism for the entirety of the system that we have in Uttar Pradesh. Now, while all three elements of the theory of change are well established, there is still a key piece which is missing in this theory of change. The first part is that the third party assessments, which we talked about, the independent assessments, which we talk about, they happen only at the end of the year. And so what this does is that it basically prevents Rashmi ji or and teachers like her from being able to assess the progress of their students throughout the academic year and from being able to understand how to measure the progress and how to remediate in case some students are being left behind. The second aspect is that the reason why this is so and why a teacher is not able to do assessments today is because it is very challenging and time taking for a teacher to be able to do a good quality standardized assessment which can accurately measure aspects of the Nipun Lakshyas like oral reading fluency. Now, this is because if you look at oral reading fluency, the manner in which a teacher would assess oral reading fluency is that they would put a passage in front of a student, look at the number of words that a student is reading is reading in a particular minute, and be able to also tell whether the student read all of those words correctly or whether there were some words that the student read incorrectly. Now, this basically creates a lot of inaccuracy and there is no standardization in the quality of assessment. And as a result, because of the absence of such inputs and because of the absence of such a assessment tool, teachers like Rashmi ji, they focus only on inputs, which is basically about teacher training, which is basically about whether or not they're using the material which has been providing and not really on the learning outcomes of the students, since only inputs currently were measurable. Now, this was the main problem that had to be solved, and the government of Uttar Pradesh started solving for it by looking for solutions, existing solutions which existed in the education space, which could measure FLN outcomes accurately. Now, one such product here was the Google Read Along, which was a tool for which had been created by Google to encourage students to practice reading. Now, as part of the solutioning, a partnership was struck between Google and the government of Uttar Pradesh in March 2020. And in a first of its kind collaboration in all of India in the education space, an existing tool, which was a Google Read Along, which was used to which was used to make students practice, was leveraged or was rather repurposed to measure oral reading fluency at scale. Now, this led to the formation of the NIPUN Lakshya app, which had a deep linking with Google Read Along, which would enable assessments of oral reading fluency at scale and unlock the objectives of enabling large scale FLN assessments. Now, the manner in which the NIPUN Lakshya app was created was also that it leveraged existing tech. Now, just like the way Uber leverages Google Maps, NIPUN Lakshya app also integrated within itself Google Read Along's API to be able to measure ORF. Additionally, the Google Read Along model, which was maybe a model which was working across multiple languages in India, was then localized for success. Now, what that meant was that it was basically trained on Uttar Pradesh's various dialects of Hindi, and that resulted in reducing the error rate in being able to accurately assess students' learning outcomes and student speed. It reduced from 38% to 1% by inputting a lot of voice samples that we used to train the Google Read Along model. Now, thirdly, this NIPUN Lakshya app was made holistic. And the manner in which it was done was that in addition to being able to measure ORF, ODK, which is an open data kit, was used to include arithmetic questions as well as reading comprehension questions, such that the overall NIPUN Lakshya app became a very holistic tool which could measure FLN assessments as a whole. Now, with the NIPUN Lakshya app being ready, it was launched by the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh in September 2022, and this app had four key features. First of all, it was very, very easy to use, and it brought down the assessment time of a teacher significantly from days to mere 3 to 5 minutes. Second, it objectively measured oral reading fluency since the passages were already built into the Google Read Along app, and the model had been trained on the local dialects across Uttar Pradesh. Third, it also integrated within it student level data history, and it was able to basically effectively track the progress of each and every student as each and every student was assessed month on month. And finally, the app was also backed up with an extensive question bank which could measure all the FLN and NIPUN competencies like reading comprehension and arithmetic in addition to ORF. Now, as a result, the app was ready to solve three key problems that Rashmiji and lakhs of teachers like her were facing. First of all, Rashmiji was earlier relying only on a third-party assessment for outcome measurement, and hence she was also unable to be able to course correct for her students in real time. Now, what the NIPUN Lakshya app did is that it empowered her with real-time visibility on students' performance. It did that by enabling Rashmiji to assess each student periodically and measure their progress against the outcomes. Second, while earlier it was challenging and time taking for a teacher to make assessments which were high quality and which were also standardized, now that problem was solved because there was a massive standardized and quality checked question bank which was available in the NIPUN Lakshya app. And so that removed the stress for Rashmi ji and teachers like her of creating a new and standardized question bank. And thirdly, by significantly easing oral reading fluency, it also created a lot of it also increased the accuracy and the speed of each student was being focused on. Now, as a result, overall, Rashmi ji and lakhs of teachers like her felt more empowered and accountable towards achieving their outcomes using the NIPUN Lakshya app. And what this unlocked was basically the ability to be able to move from measuring just inputs to actually measuring the students' learning outcomes, focusing entirely on student learning outcomes, and making students achieve the FLN learning outcomes. Now, with the app being extremely user-centric, the state undertook a two-phase launch of the NIPUN Lakshya app. Now, phase one was spread out from September 22 till March 23, where the app was released for mentors who, as I said earlier, they are best teachers who are selected out of the pool of total 6 lakh teachers that exist in Uttar Pradesh. And their job is to conduct school visits every month and provide on-site training to teachers in those schools. Now, the app was initially rolled out to these 4,500 mentors with the objective that they should go and in every visit that they should assess 5 students randomly and give feedback to the teachers on the progress of their classroom based on the 5 randomly students assessed. Now, based on this, a total of 5 lakh assessments were done. A total of 5 lakh assessments were done till April 23. And what this also allowed us to do was it allowed us to create, with that feedback that we got, it allowed us to create a lot of user centricity changes. Now, what we did that as part of that is that we added a mascot and a voiceover, which would create student delight. We simplified the process of using the app and significantly reduce the number of screens and the number of clicks it would take to be able to conduct an assessment. Additionally, the massive data that was flowing into our servers led us to actually expand our servers as well and do testing at scale, which led to a drop in load from 90% to 15%. And what this basically meant is that now the app was ready for an at-scale launch with teachers. And in phase two, which was started in April 2023, the app was launched for teachers with the intention that teachers would be able to now measure and have real-time visibility over the learning outcomes of their students. Now, the shift that happened is that just from relying on third-party assessments at the end of the year, teachers could now assess the students' NIPUN status themselves and they could plan remediation activities accordingly. Teachers could assess the outcomes and they felt empowered to do that. Now, the objective was to roll this out to 4 lakh teachers who are in the system and also to have a less than 1% app crash rate to ensure user delight. Now, to ensure the adoption of the app, an extensive communication and rigorous phase of communication was done. First of all, we had very in-depth training videos and very well done training videos, which explained to teachers how they could go on about using the app. There was consistent communication, which was being done by teachers to nudge them and to empower them and to train them and to enlighten them about the app. Now, this involved making sure that each and every teacher was reached through the extensive WhatsApp communication that was being done. Additionally, the state also leveraged Vidya Samiksha Kendra, which is the state's integrated command and control center for education, to quickly and in a time-bound manner resolve any technical queries that the teachers would have so that the teachers' trust towards this new technology product could be maintained. And finally, daily trackers, which were built off of real-time dashboards, they were sent to the field to basically give visibility to officials and teachers on the status of the usage of their app. And as a result, what we saw was that after a launch in April 2023, the NIPUN Lakshya app actually saw a widespread adoption, where it scaled from just merely 14% of the teachers using it in July 23 to 100% of the teachers being logged into the app in October 23. Now, the monthly active users, and we define any user as an active user if they're doing more than 10 assessments in a month. That number also shot up from merely 20,000 teachers in July 23 to reaching a peak of 184,000 teachers in February 2024. Uh, Additionally, the number of assessments by teachers, which is the total number of assessments which is being done, that also increased from 13 lakhs in July to 77 lakhs in February. And finally, the total number of unique students being assessed by a teacher per month also scaled up from say 23 lakhs to 43 lakhs, which was more than two-thirds of our target audience of the students being assessed in each and every month. Now, the biggest achievement and the biggest unlock that happened as a result of this widespread usage of the NIPUN Lakshya app is that the overall assessment experience for the teachers was made faster. So earlier, where there was a very lengthy process in terms of any teacher conducting assessments, which involved basically the process of creating a question paper for the teacher, the administration of the test, the checking of the results, and then the collation of data. All of that process used to take 3 to 4 days earlier. Now that was all brought down to a 3 to 5 minute time frame per student. So the app and the overall assessment process became significantly faster for the teachers. Additionally, the accuracy rate increased significantly since the Google Read Along deep linkage really enabled accurate assessments at scale. And finally, the massive printing and distribution costs for the state were eliminated, and this app was available to every teacher in their phone itself. Now, this widespread adoption and this user experience also led to unlocking of outcomes for the system actors. A third-party assessment was conducted in December 2023, but even after that, we continued to see a high usage among teachers even beyond that. In my own field visits, what came out was that teachers were assessing students regularly to be able to understand which students in their classroom have not been able to achieve the learning outcomes and what is it that they could do to make a remediation plan to make those students achieve those learning outcomes. So that by the end of the academic year 23-24, all the students in their class would have achieved the grade level competencies or the NIPUN Lakshya. Secondly, 96% of the teachers, accordingly, in a survey, they reported that 96% of the teachers felt confident about being able to make their schools NIPUN in the coming academic year, which is academic year 24-25. Additionally, on the official side, 92% of officials reported that there was an increased discussion about NIPUN and outcomes during their review meetings, which used to happen in every month or every week. And 98% of the officials said that NIPUN Lakshya app has increased the accountability of teachers towards the outcomes. So on one way, the app empowered teachers to be able to focus more on outcomes, to have an outcome orientation, and to remediate students for those who are not achieving the outcomes. On the officials, however, it increased their visibility on the program. It increased the manner in which their block or their district was achieving the outcomes, and as a result, they also felt more confident about being able to achieve the NIPUN Lakshya milestone. Now, this outcome orientation that came into the system overall has also yielded in tangible outcomes for the NIPUN program as a whole. Now, in March 2023, as per an independent assessment which was done, only about 3% of the schools which were assessed came out to be NIPUN. Now, a school is called NIPUN when 80% of the students who are assessed in each grade turn out to be grade level competent or NIPUN. Now, only 3% of the students or the schools rather in March 2023 were NIPUN. However, that number shot up to 16,169. So it almost increased by 4x. And 12% of the schools became NIPUN in a independent assessment, which was done in December 2023. Now, while the entirety of this change cannot be attributed to the NIPUN Lakshya app, and of course, the immense efforts that the government of Uttar Pradesh, the Basic Education Department, that has been putting into reforming education since 2019, all of this has actually led to the improvement in the overall status. However, the distinct outcome orientation that has come out from the NIPUN Lakshya app, that continues to be one key factors behind the achievement of the increased number of NIPUN schools in the state. Now, finally, what do we take away from this from this experience of the NIPUN Lakshya app, which is really emerging as a case study in large-scale change management? First of all, this is a highly replicable model. So, given that the NIPUN Lakshya mission or the NIPUN Bharat mission is a national mission promulgated by the Ministry of Education as part of the National Education Policy, other states also have to pursue the NIPUN Bharat mission. And what we see is that this is highly replicable for any particular state, wherein for literacy, the app can easily be adopted to the particular local language of that particular state. And for math, it can be adopted as is. And it can really serve well in any FLN context that exists across the entire nation. Secondly, even beyond foundation literacy and numeracy, the principle that is really being talked about here about creating real-time visibility of outcomes for the frontier workers, and how creating real-time visibility of the outcomes and their progress against the goals, which in this case is the NIPUN Lakshya, that can really enable large-scale behavior change and large-scale outcome orientation, which can really drive programs forward. And so that is the story of the NIPUN Lakshya app, which has really emerged as a case study undertaken by the Basic Education Department, Government of Uttar Pradesh. Thank you.